William L. Wipfler was ordained an Episcopal priest in 1955, and in that same year he married Pauline Papperman, a high school English teacher. They served as missionaries in the Dominican Republic until 1963, and then in Costa Rica from 64 to 66. In 1967, Reverend Wiffler became Assistant Director of the National Council of Churches Caribbean and Latin America Department. He served as director of that department from 1968 to 1977. From 1977 to 1988, he served as director of the National Council of Churches Human Rights Office. In 1978, Reverend Wiffler received his PhD from Union Theological Seminary, New York, New York. In 1989, he was appointed by the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church to serve on his staff as deputy to the executive for World Mission. In 1992, he was appointed by the Archbishop of Canterbury to serve on the staff of the New York office of the Anglican Observer at the UN, a post which he held until 1994. Reverend Wiffler has given lectures and seminars at many universities and is the author of 7 books and many articles. Over the years, he has served as associate priest at several parishes.
I was born in 1931, and from the time of my birth until I graduated from seminary, we lived in Woodside in Queens, in New York City. My mother was a skilled seamstress, and she worked in a high-end women's dress shop in Manhattan before she was married, and then a few years after into her marriage to my dad. My father was the son of butchers in Upper Manhattan. He helped out as a delivery boy, and actually that's how he met my mother. Although a third grade dropout, it's quite amazing, he passed the civil service exam and worked as a letter carrier on the Lower East Side of Manhattan for 44 years, right in the areas where new immigrants settled: Little Italy, Chinatown, the Jewish area around Hester Street. When I was very young, I can still remember how my dad expected my sister, who was 16 years older than I, and my brother, 17 years older, and my mother, and even me, to listen to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Fireside Chats on the radio. And then when that was over, he would explain what he felt were the most important things that the president had said. It was a significant family event that, in spite of my very young age, still stands out in my memory. I think that Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Fireside Chats left an impression, largely because of the comments that my dad always made following.
Bill, tell us a little bit about your family, if you would. I know that you and Pauline were married in 1955, correct?
Correct.
Bill and Pauline's first child, John, was born in 1956 in Puerto Rico. Bill explains that there were a lot of passport problems that arose for people who were born in the Dominican Republic of foreign parents. In Puerto Rico, there would automatically be citizenship for the baby.
But then Anne decided that she was going to be born early. She was born at 7 months on the way to the hospital. I was a midwife, and I'm on her birth certificate. I'm listed as midwife. And then Sarah and Mark were born in the Dominican Republic in the area of my actual parish, which was in La Romana.
Bill served as pastor for 8 years in the Dominican Republic and then 2 years in Costa Rica. In 1967, he began his work at the Caribbean and Latin America Department of the National Council of Churches in New York City. After moving to the U.S., the Wiffler family lived in East Rockaway, Long Island, New York. And what fields of work are the children, of course, well grown up now, but what fields of work are they in?
My son John, our first child, was the CEO of the largest orthopedic center in Portland, Maine. And he is now serving as a consultant all around the United States on corporation development and management. He and his wife Valerie have 4 children. And our second child is a pianist and singer. And she's also more recently become an author, has published her first book. She and her husband, Wes, have 3 boys. Sarah has her doctorate in physical therapy. She teaches pediatric physical therapy at Juville College in Buffalo. She and her husband, Bill, have 2 sons. Mark, the youngest, is a specialist in emergency medicine in Connecticut, and he is in his second marriage, has 2 daughters of his own, and his wife, Karis, has a daughter.
Well, they're very talented people.
They really are,
talented,
and they are doing so well by the children. Their children are all graduates now of university or in university, and it's been a wonderful thing to have the family grow and to be near so many of them.
Pauline Wiffler was born Viola Pauline Papperman on April 4, 1932 in Chicago, Illinois, to Bertie Abertnoth and Reverend Dr. Gustav Papperman, a Presbyterian pastor. She graduated with a degree in English literature from Wilson College in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, where she was inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. Following her graduation, she taught English at a Maryland high school. She married then Deacon William L. Wipfler on July 9, 1955. The couple worked as missionaries in the Dominican Republic from 1955 to 1963. Pauline taught part-time at an American school and was very involved in All Saints Church in La Romana, especially the choir and women's youth groups. She then served with her husband as a missionary in Costa Rica for several years. While teaching full-time, she earned her master's degree. An innovative educator whose classrooms were highly sought after by student teachers, she was loved and respected by grateful students and their parents. Both Newsday Magazine and PBS named her Teacher of the Year. Very active in her community, she was the first woman ever to run for East Rockaway's village trustee. She won the election handedly, becoming East Rockaway's first female village trustee and one of the first women to hold elected office in Nassau County. Pauline died peacefully on June 17, 2008, following a 2-decade battle with Alzheimer's disease.
Now, I just wanted to ask you about Pauline. When did she retire from
her work.
Well, the tragedy of situation is that Pauline was beginning to have some personal concerns about her memory that became a real problem because she was a teacher of English as a second language when she was about 55. And we went to a memory clinic, and we went to see if there were things that could be done to help her with her memory. And the problem was that at 56, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, early onset, and resigned on the spot. I mean, that she finished that year, and she said, "I just cannot inflict my loss of memory on my children in school," and retired at 56. Those were hard years. More for me, from the point of view of the way in which I watched that terrible disease just take a hold of one part of her life and then another. And for her, because her mother and her mother's brother had Alzheimer's, and she knew exactly where it went. So it was very hard, for her, a very hard experience of life.
As a result of 6 decades in the defense of human rights, Bill received the Distinguished Alumni Award on October 9, 2015, from Union Theological Seminary, New York, along with 3 other persons. Previously, he had earned both the Master's of Sacred Theology degree and his PhD from the seminary. As the Reverend Dr. Robert McAfee Brown, professor of ecumenics and world Christianity, stated,
"When a human life was at stake, or the future of a people was threatened, you were always there giving us the data, the tactics, and the passion to respond. I guess the folks who really thank you are the ones who are still alive because of what you did, publicly or behind the scenes, to call attention to their plight and give them a future they thought they had lost."